There aren't any coyotes in England.
Welcome to Classics of Cinematics, where Monk and Bobby Blockbuster discuss classic films released before the year 2000. An American Werewolf in London is a 1981 comedy horror film written and directed by John Landis. The film stars David Naughton and Griffin Dunne as two American backpackers who are attacked by a werewolf in England. An American Werewolf in London is a cult classic that combines horror, comedy, romance, and tragedy. It is famous for its amazing makeup effects by Rick Baker, who won an Oscar for his work. An American Werewolf in London is one of the best horror comedies ever made.
To this day!
And it has influenced many other filmmakers and artists. We hope you enjoy this trip down memory lane. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications.
Hey folks, man, this is Monk, and I'm here with Bobby Blockbuster.
Yo, yo, yo!
Yeah, and we're about to talk about American Werewolf in London, man. So, what's something that stands out to you about this film, man?
I mean, right out the gate, I think we should get into this story. I mean, you know, one thing that I like about this, especially on my rewatches, dude, is I really like how it's laid out and how it's delivered. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a condensed story. We'll get about an hour, 37 minutes, and it doesn't really feel like there's a lot of fillers. You know what I'm saying? They make, you know, every interaction with every character meaningful. They make every minute count. And I think that is what kind of helps excel this story, not just for the obvious reasons and what we get in like the effects and the werewolf element, but just in making these characters mean a little more to us, kind of giving a bit of an emotional compass. You know what I mean? Yeah. And with that, you know, the fact that this is a werewolf story, it brings a new element to the werewolf genre. You know what I'm saying? On so many levels. Like, you watch this film and you realize that there's so much more to be afraid of than just being a werewolf. Like, the beast is almost like, that's the low hanging fruit of this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, when we get into this movie, I mean, for starters, you know, you get this fish out of water element where you got these two young guys that are traveling across foreign terrain. Tragedy happens. One of them dies. Now the other one is just left to the mercy of these people that live there that don't know him from Adam, and he's already looked at kind of like, man, yeah, you ain't one of American, us. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It is wild, man. Like, I think this may have been one of the first ones to really give a deeper look into the curse of the werewolf. Yes. Because, like, I feel like that's what made it stand out. I mean, we got the universal werewolf from the past, which is, you know, it's okay, you know, and it's classic, but and then there were a lot of knockoffs since then. Like, by the time this came out, it was just a string of bad werewolf movies that just focused on, all right, this guy got bit, now he's going to bite other people and just kill people. But this kind of puts you into the point of view of the person who has this curse, because that essentially is what it is. So, and it's not just, I'm turning into a wolf, you know, every full moon and killing people. It's also like the curse of dealing with the psychology of it too. Because not only that, he's seeing ghosts, apparitions of his victims. They're visiting him. They're around, and like, and also, like, I think it's cool how they mix it up, because essentially this werewolf, whoever they've killed, you know, they also are being tormented by that spirit, those people in the spirit world, and they're the only ones that can see him. So you could be chilling, watching TV, and all of a sudden, one of the people you killed looking exactly how they did when you killed them, and even worse because they keep decomposing, and they're just sitting there like, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?"
Another thing
that's wild, dude.
Another
that's
thing,
wild.
Like you said, that really works for this film is the fact that it really taps into the psychology of it, how it affects you on a personal level, not just the beast, but mentally. Because like when he starts having these lucid dreams, it's like it's almost like the animal is trying to, you know, be released from the cage within, you know what I'm saying? And like, it's happening in this very like subtle way, whereas at first it's kind of like, okay, the first time he falls asleep, he's just running through the woods naked. Then he's running through the woods naked, eating a deer, to the point where we get one of the coolest things.
You know what though? I think, speaking of those scenes, that very first scene, we see that before the transformation. And I think those are really what he was doing at that point. We just had, you know, based on how the director chose to film this, we just didn't see the transformation yet. But I think he really was doing it that early. Like that's crazy.
And then what also really works for me is, like you said, we get more horror elements than just the werewolf. Like in his last lucid dream, we get these like soldier ghoul things that like they don't have nothing to do with the werewolf element, but it just really taps into the psyche and the horror that's coming,
because they kind of represent that hunger for blood that the wolf had, because all they did was just come in every space and just kill people. We even see one later on with that nurse that he starts talking to. And there's one scene where she just comes in to visit and she opens the door and one of them soldiers is there and he stabs her.
That was the first time I ever saw a double dream on film.
Yeah, that was crazy.
They came in and they ransacked the household and the family and they slit his throat. And by the way, he said that was one of the scenes that scared him the most of doing this film, because the person that was holding the knife, it was a real knife and they didn't have no eye holes in their mask. So they couldn't see. So, technology is great, and as we move forward in filmmaking, there are certain things that we don't have to retread. That's one of them.
And that scene is crazy because he's chilling, and these soldiers come in with wolf faces, and they kill everybody, including him. And then he wakes up when his throat gets slit, which is also odd, because most of the time where I've had a dream and I was about to die, I wake up before I die. Yes. But he actually gets killed in this dream. Yeah. And then he wakes up and he's gasping. And all of a sudden, the nurse comes in and she's like, "Hey, you need a drink of water or whatever the fuck." And then the crazy shit happens, and he wakes up again. So I've never had that happen where I woke up in a dream and then I'm still dreaming.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, because I think I might have had that happen after this film because it put that thought in my head. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this can happen too. Shit.
Yeah. I definitely love that stuff because he has a kind of a lengthy recovery after the initial attack and his friend is killed. So he's hanging around this hospital, and there's a few characters. So we get a few moments of him, just like I said, dealing with this psychologically, waking up in cold sweats. And I think his friend first visits him in the hospital, right? Yeah, and that's I love that, man.
But and that's the cool thing about this film too, is that from the beginning to the end, they put the friendship between David and Jack on the front line. It never goes away. It doesn't matter if the friend is with him in the physical world or in the spiritual world. They are still friends, and it's kind of cool to me because Jack starts playing this role, the same role to David as what Pascal played to Ellie Creed in Pet Sematary, almost like a warning. He's not here to hurt you. He's here to warn you of what's to come.
Man, this is a crazy psychological thing, man. Because even like you could tell they're real good buddies, man. Yeah. I think it's great that they take the time. Like honestly, this thing is elevated because it took time with character development, in a way. Like this, like on paper, it was probably a hard sell to get this film made, but I'm glad the people took the risk and had it done, because like I said, it elevated what something like this could be. Imagine if this much care was took into like a revisitation of Frankenstein or The Mummy or something like that. But I like those moments where him and his buddy, even on the moor, when they're walking, after they leave the bar and the guys are telling them, "Hey man, stay on the road. Don't stay off the moors." Yeah. And it's wild. I don't know how they missed you're on the road, but then all of a sudden they're walking out in this thing.
They scared and they running.
And this thing is growling. but before we get to that, the conversations in between, even when they first get dropped off, like I love that establishment. Like this story, I think works a lot of ways because it is about the characters.
Yes.
More so than just the spectacle of a werewolf killing people,
And to your point, I mean, because if you look at this, honestly, speaking freely about this, the story is, it's microwavable. It's A is B, okay? It's a man gets bit, turns into a werewolf kills people, the end. You know what I'm saying? But this one, it gives us that emotional compass. We care about these characters. We care so much about David, and we know he's going to turn into a wolf and hurt other people. But we care about what's happening to him because he seems so genuinely clueless as to what's happening to him, and it transfers on the screen. And
I mean, it's a tough spot to be in, man. Like I said, I think that's a cool character study because eventually, we realized why his friends visiting him is giving him a warning. He's like, dude, really, the only way to end this and not have all of this on your conscience and cause the least damage is to kill yourself.
Yes.
So, and he's like, nah, man, what are you talking about? You know, first of all, he has to deal with the fact that his dead friend is talking to him. So that's already crazy.
He's having a hard time trying to decipher reality because he's having these dreams too. So he's like, yo, are you a dream too? Are you really here? I mean, or a figment of my imagination? What's
And then halfway through the film, he starts going out as the wolf, and he doesn't really remember what he's doing except for the flashbacks that he's getting from these dreams. But dude, you are out there or waking up in strange places like Incredible Hulk. Incredible Hulk is the wolf man. If you want to talk about it like old school Hulk, where Banner would go out at night and wild out and wake up
clothes ripped, waking up in a barn. Like what the hell? I mean,
what am I doing?
Dude, I love it when he wakes up in the zoo in the wolf cage. But then my man like hiding behind a bush and then calls the kid over. He's like, hey, kid, give me those balloons. And the little boy's like, some naked American man took my balloons. It's like, see, and that's the thing about this story too, is because it's like, yes, it's horror, it's scary, but it's got so much lighthearted comedy.
It's definitely funny,
it makes the horror easier to digest. You know what I mean? Because it's not a gore factor. The way that even when he does wolf out and we see these harsh scenes and these brutal killings, they leave a lot to the imagination. So this story it's like it's focusing more on the impact of what's happening, not the visuals. You know what I mean? And that's what really works.
It's going deeper than the regular normal cuts. They're going for deeper cuts in the production of this, man. I definitely like that, man.
But, and ultimately, I mean, it's a roller coaster ride. I mean, you get your anticipation, you get your thrills, you get your enjoyment, and then it's over.
But like the remixing of this lore, one of the other aspects I really like about this is the what's the name of the inn they go to?
What is it? The Slaughtered Lamb.
The Slaughtered Lamb. So this is where
who the hell would go to a place called the Slaughtered Lamb?
I mean, you would go that's where you could go. So I mean, that's the only place in town. Like, and that's the thing. They're on the road. They're backpacking through Europe. They've just started. Yeah. They're in Northern Europe. So they're north of London. I'm assuming, but. I think North England. They're in England. And
it's like Wales or something.
Yeah, so I think they're in England, and then after this leg, they're going to go to Ireland, which is where his friend really wants to go to. Yeah. Like he's more excited about that than where they are.
He's like, why did we go here before Italy or Ireland?
Come on. And then, but then it's like it's getting late at night. They don't know anything about what's going on around here, but it's rain's coming, and they're just looking for a place to get into. It's cold. They're chilling for a few hours, and probably get something to eat, and spend some time and warm up before they continue. And I love that in like I said, I feel like I could watch a mini series of the end of just people passing through there,
and how mean they are to them. These are the meanest fucking patrons ever.
But this is the full moon night, and this town is in on it. They know they know. And that's so cool to me that they're all hanging out there as a means of safety. Because maybe if they were in their homes, there's a chance that this wolf could come into their individual home and try to assault one of them.
Strength in numbers.
But if they're all together in there, got their guns and stuff, then they're going to be safe. And they just spend the night getting drunk. And it's so wild to me, man, that I do like when they leave, yo. So
yeah. They kick him out.
Yeah, they do.
They kick him out for asking about the
star
on the wall. They kick him out
for asking about the shit on the wall. And I understand. Maybe this can sound crazy to some people visiting you. There's wolf people around here. You don't want to be out on the road. That's why we're here tonight. And that's crazy to me it's worse for them to say that than to send two innocent people who don't know anything out there possibly to their deaths. That was so wild, but it's also kind of funny.
Well, the only one who had a conscience was Large Marge's cousin. Yeah. She's like, yo, y'all shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, that was so good. He's like, we should tell them. You should go
save them. And then it's like, then it starts to rain. They're like, maybe the rain will save them. Then you hear the howl. Yeah. And you're like, I ain't heard shit.
I ain't hear that. I was like,
what?
That scene is funny to me. Like they're the worst people on earth, but I would love to, like I said, give me like 5 or 6 episodes of them just messing with travelers coming through.
Oh man!
And then what happens, man. I think that all of that just builds on to make this film, what it is, man. It makes it good, man.
Another thing that I really liked about this story is the way that it kind of reinvented the not just the werewolf, but the way that you can deal with the werewolf. They didn't waste no time on you got to get a silver bullet. No, this is just it is a transformed man. You can kill a wolf with a bullet, you can kill a man with a bullet, you can kill this with a bullet. And I never once do they have the I'm getting a silver bullet montage.
Nah, they're never
loading up a garlic or AK or something. They got big
except for the pentagram, which is weird though, because ain't that kind of a evilish sign a little bit? Why wouldn't that attract the wolf? But I don't know.
Ooh, no.
I don't know the intricacies of that. Yeah. That was interesting.
But another.
But it probably could have been something that just was ineffective anyway. They just did it to make them feel good.
It might make them feel good, But and another thing that really works for me is we get this fast paced thrill ride, but then when it ends, it's very abrupt. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like, the way that, Jack is killed, the way we're introduced to the wolf, the way he turns into the wolf, boom, 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 victims, blood, mayhem, chaos. Yeah. And then credits. And I like that because that's what really makes this story like sit with you long after it's over. It lingers. You're like, holy shit. Like, I kind of feel like I wanted a little more, but I'm glad it's over because at the end of the day.
What's interesting though, rewatching it? Like that last part where the wolf goes on his rampage, he only killed like maybe, counting the other people, maybe, I don't know, let's just say 10 people by the end of this. But you know how many people died in that?
On night one.
You know how many people died being scared of the wolf in the street in that one scene?
All those actions, yes. For all intents and purposes,
that was crazy.
This big wolf man turned into an ankle biter. Dog, he's just nipping at people. Boom, boom, boom. But yes, everybody was killing each other.
The car wrecks and then
mayhem, people flying through the windshield. You know what I'm saying? The damn trolley flips over.
They was worse than that wolf ever. I swear there was probably like 25 people that died in that scene.
That's just insane.
Yeah. But
that was insane.
Yeah, man. It is crazy, man. But
okay, we got to touch on this, and I do wholeheartedly mean this with the utmost respect. But the story's so good. And the elements of this film are so good that you pretty much could have casted anyone in these roles. I firmly believe that.
I firmly believe it too.
And this is no shade no shots being taken, pun intended. No shots being taken to these guys, but to David, what's my man's name? David Naughton. Okay, that's in David. It's always funny to me when the person uses their real name. You know how he got his job, dog?
No.
John Landis saw him on a Dr. Pepper commercial.
What?
He led the Dr. Pepper Be a Pepper campaign in the 80s. So that's how he got cast. And then the other guy, Griffin Dunne, who played the role of Jack, never did a feature-length film before this. All he did was have a 10-minute conversation with John Landis, read a little bit of the script, and he was like, yeah, go ahead. You in there.
You know what? It is like their roles, like you said, actors wouldn't have changed, I don't think, the outcome of this, but they did all right,
No, they did really
But I also think that that's probably how this film got made, because in a way, there are some things of it that I could see could be a little bit more costly than the studio would want to risk on something like this. So maybe you don't get the Bacon or whoever. This came out 81, so whoever was popping 81, you don't get them. You get actors that can do the job but aren't as names, and you can pay them less. And that's how you probably get this thing made.
They said initially that they were considering casting Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi because Landis directed, it wasn't Animal House, I think it was Neighbors. And he wanted to get them because this film has this comedy element. But my personal opinion, if you put marquee actors in this, then I feel like that's going to take away from the story.
Especially Belushi and them, considering what they were doing at the time.
It's going to be like watching.
I don't know when they were on, what years they did Saturday Night Live, if that was later or if that was around this time. Because this 81 is still early.
Dude,
like my timeline for 81 is kind of weird. Like, I know things were happening, but I don't know exactly when and what stuff was being done at that time.
With them, dude, it would be like watching the Blues Brothers turn into werewolves. You know what I'm saying? And then the only other people in this film that kind of had like extended roles is what's her name? Jen Agatar, who was the nurse.
She did anything else?
And John Woodline, and both of them. I mean, respectively.
I know Woodvine. I've definitely seen Woodvine.
Yeah, they had more on-screen time, but they also had significantly smaller roles.
She did Logan's Run
in this film, and she coming up for I thought that was Rack.
Yeah, she did. Walkabout. She definitely did Logan's Run, which was kind of a big deal. But that was 76. Damn, that was before this. So yeah, post this, there wasn't a lot. Maybe some British stuff, but it wasn't like she, got. Because they were shot this thing in London, so
shot on location. And then after this, talk about the curse of being typecasted. Because after this, David Naughton, he would only get roles for horror flicks, which most of them he elected to turn down. He's in a couple like B-rate horror flicks, and then the career over. And Dr. Pepper subsequently dropped him because of all of his nude scenes in this. Even though there was no frontal nudity, like, man, we can't have the Dr. Pepper guy running around London naked. Mm-hmm. So we got that.
What would you do? Would you kill yourself if you had this curse?
I couldn't kill myself, but I would get somebody that cared about me enough to do it.
Know what?
I would ask them. I would say, man, you got to do this for me.
Maybe because I've seen this movie, but
I wouldn't be able to eat a bullet.
I'd probably just ride it out, bro.
Man, I don't want to be haunted by all them ghosts, man.
But if I would just ride it out, they would suck.
Because then next thing you know, my whole damn apartment gonna be full of ghosts and shit. Because every time I wolf out, I'm gonna get busy, dog. I know it.
But after a while, you would get used to it. You'd be like, hey, yo, roll up.
Yeah, that's true. So, yo, who on dish duty tonight? I'm making pot roast, motherfuckers.
It's wild, man.
Oh, it's cold out here.
But I guess we can get into the big thing. Because considering the last scene where we saw this friend first visit him, which I think is some of the best gore makeup effects I've ever seen, man. Like that was crazy.
Yes, dude. Okay, there is no doubt in anybody's mind, no questions why this film did win the Academy Award in 1981 for Best Makeup. Okay?
Oh, they had an award for that back then.
This was the first year it was invented.
Oh, wow.
and I think partially because of this film.
That's crazy.
You got to give credit where credit is due. But when you bring this movie up, you put 100 people in a room and ask them about this film. 99 of them are going to say the transformation. That would be the first thing that people talk about when it comes to this film, because the transformation is so prolific. It was so groundbreaking, and it still holds up by today's terms. With the no CGs, the inventiveness in all of the effect work and all of the artwork and everything. But it's a lot deeper than what we just see on screen. It's the way that they approached it. You know what I'm saying? The way that they actually put emphasis on the pain that one would go through while transforming.
Even the attack, because I think it's interesting, like when they get attacked in the moors, how his friend looks when because we don't see it. We kind of just see the wolf head like doing all that. And then when he's laying on the ground, I'm like, that looks nuts. So like this thing is the wolf transformation is dope, but overall this film has an elevated quality of special effects, especially for 1980. Like this is rivaling what we're seeing in Dawn of the Dead, which came out in 82, I think. So that's crazy. But see, what Rick Baker was able to achieve.
The thing of it is, the reason why this transformation sticks out to me so much is because of the pain element. You look at any other. Okay, for instance, The Howling came out 18 days before this. Okay. Transformation, 3 minutes long, just like in American Werewolf in London, right?
Howling was working with less money, though. You can tell.
So in The Howling, when my man starts to transform, you see a sense of enjoyment. He's embracing the turn. He wants to turn. And there's a lot of face bubbling going on. Boom, down, pap. You're a werewolf. In this one, it's more drawn out. Like you see, like initially it goes from 0 to 100. He's like, oh shit, I feel all hot. And then, you see his skin stretching, the bones popping, the hair growing in. And then you got these sounds that are running parallel with the visuals. He's hurting. And I think that's how it would be. He's crying out for help. He's crying out to Jack. He's like, man, I'm sorry I called you a meatloaf, man. Help me with this shit. You know what I'm saying? Because
Jack, he's like, I told you what to do.
And that's what really stood out to me was I've never saw that before in any werewolf film before this.
Yeah, even the Universal,
after.
My man's just chilling.
He just
and you see his face just slowly more.
and like I said, like
this looks like it's uncomfortable,
painful. It looks painful, and that that kind of like I said, it taps into the emotional compass that we have for David and what he's going through. Yeah. But then even outside of that, like you said, dude, the first time we see Jack in the hospital scene when he's all ripped open, throat exposed, and
yeah, man,
dude, the one of the nastiest parts to me was a little dangly piece of flesh. Every time he talked, and there was one part that they actually cut out, which I kind of wish they didn't, because I think that this movie, had enough going on that we could have got that too. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, in the hospital, he grabs a piece, so he's like, "Yo, you mind if I get some of this toast?" And he dips it and he eats it. They said initially the toast fell through the hole.
Oh my God, that would have been great. I'm just visualizing. And you know what's funny? Yes. Every time Jack shows up since then, he's more decomposed and almost, and by the end he looks like a mummy. And I think that's just so cool that we have different, iterations of him.
And also, like I said, this is a testament of the time, because Jack, every time he had to get that makeup put on, 5 hours in the chair. For each different sequence, the more and more he was decomposed. The only time he didn't have to go through that was in the theater scene, because that was a complete animatronic.
Well, think about this though. Our main guy, when his transformation happens, how many times he had to go in the chair? Because it's not like you could just
I got that too.
CGI the thing. It's like every shot where he looks different, that was a different sitting of makeup. So imagine how long did it take to shoot that?
This film was shot in 4 weeks. 6 days it took to do that scene. 6 days for 3 minutes. 18 total hours. They said it was 10 hours to apply the makeup, 5 hours screen time, 3 hours to remove. They could only do one scene a day.
Yeah, because every time, like I said, we see the gradual build up. Yeah. Like there's one shot where he's got the hair growing out a little bit. Mm-hmm. So that's another makeup sitting. So then later, then there's in that same shot, there's another shot of him where he's got like a furry collar. That's another sitting of makeup for hours. Yes. So it's like,
and they actually
crazy. And then when he's laying on his back on the ground, that's another sitting.
Yes. And then all of the glass contacts, the teeth. But they said that they actually did the fur in reverse.
They're making up things on the fly, things that haven't been done before, figuring out how we can make it work. Even the leg stretches, the arms, basically, that's not his arm. That's a prosthetic, and then they probably got a machine in it pushing it out. Yeah. It's clever, man.
Really testament to Rick Baker's inventiveness. But here's the thing about this movie, about the special effects. So a particular individual, the King of Pop, Mike Jackson, was actually so impressed by this movie and these effects that he actually requested, almost demanded, that the same director and the same cast and crew help him for his upcoming music video Thriller.
Classic. And it did. One of the biggest songs ever. Period.
Best music videos ever. Mm-hmm. So good that actually they made the making of Thriller, and you could rent that at damn Arrows. I rented it before. It was like a 2-hour documentary of the damn movie.
And it makes sense because you think about how Michael Jackson's makeup version looks. It looks a lot like that. That werewolf, man.
Yes, when he's wolfing out, and then even when you look at the zombies, they look a little Jack.
It looked like Jack. Yeah. Like man. It's an interesting time, dude. But this thing has a legacy, man. It's a dope film. So let me ask you this, man. What is your favorite werewolf themed movie?
Silver Bullet. Say that without even flinching. Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet is
Silver
fun,
Bullet.
man.
That's my 1A, 1B would be London.
So for me, my favorite is The Howling 3, The Marsupials, because it's a nutty film. and not only that, but it also gives you a remix into the the werewolf mythology, like putting the Australia twist on it where we've got an offshoot with mixed kind of like a werewolf Tasmanian devil mixture. Oh, wow. And the story is crazy, man. I rewatched it recently. It's nutty, and it's nutty for what it got away with for. I think that thing is still rated PG-13 or might even be PG.
Nothing Howling should be rated PG anything.
Yeah. But it's nuts. Like the lore of it, the mythology of it, that you got this offshoot of werewolves in Australia, but they've also got the marsupial thing. So you got werewolf babies living in pouches. I'm like, yo, this is nuts. Like, this is insane. Wow. And then also a mixture of what I really liked about that film. There's a scene where there's a professor in school and he's showing his students footage, and this footage is like it's like some old film footage, found footage, and you see like a werewolf being burned at the stake. I like that kind of stuff. Witch trials and shit. Yeah, in a way, like I like that kind of stuff where you got these even here with the end thing where it's like people know about these things, but they're not widely known. Right. And it's to the wider audience, it's thought of as, oh, this is just folklore. This is mythology. This is old wives' tales. But then it turns out to be real. Yeah. And that's one of my favorites, man. It is goofy. It's hokey. It's cheaply made. But I think what stands out to me is them experimenting with the mythology of the werewolf thing. Dude. To this day, I think I saw it on HBO back in the day. It would come on in the middle of the day or sometime, and I watched it a couple times. And I watched it recently, and it's still an entertaining film. As goofy as the Howling series was, I think when Howling and this film came out at the same time. So this
same year, 18 days apart.
To me, this feels like the art house werewolf story, and Howling feels like that. It's more punk rock, a little more indie, a little indie, a little more. It's funny, but they both kind of transformed the genre when they came out, in different ways,
in their own rights. And when it comes to the Howling franchise, my favorite Howling, I want to say it's Howling. It's either 4 or 5. I can't remember exactly which one, but it's the one that's called the Battle of the Freaks. And pretty much, it's a circus, a traveling circus, and of course, their new attraction is this werewolf. But then you find out that the conductor of the circus, he's a vampire, and then they fight at the end, dude. It's great. I love that shit. That shit. And the look of the vampire, he's all blue, looks like Nosferatu, but he's like almost like purple. Really cool. Yeah,
I will say this, man. They still make werewolf movies. Stay away from the sequel to this, Werewolf in Paris.
It never happened.
That movie never got made. But there's some stuff. I mean, I think I liked the first. What was that series with the Lycans?
Underworld.
Underworld, yeah. I watched the first one of those. I thought it was cool, but then they got a little wild with it.
They did. They did. So. I mean, and then there's other ones like if you really.
What about that Jack Nicholson?
I was about to say that. I like Jack Nicholson.
It's alright.
I like Wolf.
Who's he fighting? Was he fighting
David Spader?
Isn't there one with what's that other guy name? Man, damn. Oh man.
No, it's Wolf. Yeah, man. He ends up bagging Michelle Pfeiffer and fighting David Spader. All in one sitting, dog. I was like, yeah, go Jack. But then also there's another one a little more on the indie side called Bad Moon. That one's really good, real clever. And then there's also Dog Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers is pretty cool, man.
Is good. I mean, so you're gonna get more bad ones than good ones.
Oh, the Wolfman. That's what I was trying to with
Benicio.
Trying to think Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a reimagining of the original.
Yeah, the Wolfman.
It's kind of like
it was him and who's the other guy?
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins,
who looked like he didn't even want to be there.
Hannibal Lecter. Wow.
Yeah, he was not Hannibal.
It's got a cool transformation though. This is cool.
But and I'm glad that you touched on this one, the way that it was shot, because it definitely does have that more artistic feel. And they said that minus the transformation scene, this is one of the only films that was actually shot in sequence, and you can kind of see that in the flow. But one thing that I really liked is that they took a page out of the Jaws handbook when he did Wolf Out, and they did that Predator POV thing. Yeah. Like instead of giving us too much of the wolf, this is one where less is more. You know what I'm saying? And you see him hawking the victim. And I think that those scenes always work for me when it leaves a little more up to the imagination. You know what I'm saying? Gives the viewer an opportunity to use their own inventiveness and creativity as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. But yeah, I guess we can wrap this thing up, man. You know what I'm saying? This definitely stands out, man. I love this film. And the wolf mythology is one that continues to endure and just be an interesting thing, for society, to check out. I think we probably got some new wolf stuff in the works. That werewolf Marvel joint, I don't know if you saw that, man. That is worth checking out, man.
What is the
what was the name of that? Werewolf by Night.
There you go.
It's on Disney Plus right now. It's crazy that they decided to shoot that in black and white, but that was really well done, man. That was cool. But like I said, man, the wolf man mythology is one that continues to adore. People, we're going to see one of these movies like every few years, man. They keep making them and they keep coming out.
And it's actually going to hit. I mean, you're going to get more bad ones than good ones. Mm-hmm. Know this. Yeah. Just like zombie movies now. It's an oversaturated concept, but you know, when somebody is daring enough to put their own spin on it and tap into their own originality, well, it works. You know what I'm saying? And this film, it's timeless. It plays just as good today as it did the first time I saw it. Far beyond the transformation scene. I mean, that is obviously one of my favorite parts of this film. But watching this as an experienced movie watcher now at my current age, I can appreciate all of the little things that I might have overlooked when I was younger, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because of the amount of energy and effort that went into it, you know, all the way across the board. You know, from the setting to the camera angles to the acting by these people that we, for all intents and purposes, didn't even know before this film and didn't really see them in shit after. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at least not here. Yeah, I think we could wrap this thing up, man. Definitely check out American Werewolf in London. You've probably seen it before if you are watching this, so rewatch it. And if you haven't seen it, man, watch it, bro. This is one of the classics for a reason, man. You know, a lot of ground was broke, man. You know, with the making of this film, man. But yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. Check us out. Check out below in the description, you can see links so you can buy some merch from us, man. Yeah. Help us out. Help us keep the lights on here, man.
You know what I'm saying?
And check us out at Classes of Cinematics on Instagram. And you can check me out at Monkey Blood on Instagram and Twitter.
This is Bobby Blockbuster. You can catch me on the next show or possibly Howling at the Moon. Yeah.
All right, folks, man. We out of here. Peace.